Hey everyone, welcome to today's class. We'll give a few minutes before we get started, but I hope you're having a great day. My name is Megan. If you're new here, I own Paint and Sip BT or Painting with Megan, and I do live classes every month for you to have an opportunity to paint, unwind, really play with your creativity a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get my supplies set up, and I encourage you to do the same. In just a couple of minutes, I will walk through what our supplies are for today's class. So take your time, get your studio space set up, get your table set up wherever you're creating today, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. But I want to welcome you. All right. I am based in Vermont. For anyone that's new, it's so nice to have you here. And today's inspiration is a really beautiful, I call it a boho sunshine. It is an array of colors. You know, they could be fairly muted if you want them to be. They can be brighter colors, but we're going to be intentional with our color selection today, and we'll talk through that a little bit. But I'll go through and I'll talk through our supplies as you're getting set up. So for today's class, I am using acrylic paint, and I have acrylic paper that I'm going to be using as well. And along with our acrylic paper, I have different colors acrylics. So with these classes, you can always join with your basic paints. You can join with your primary colors of red, blue, and yellow. You can also use a little bit of white and black as well to lighten colors or to darken them. Now, in these colors, you can start with those basics and you can blend colors along the way. So in these classes, I actually teach you and coach you how to blend new colors for you to like those colors. Now, as an example, this is a color wheel, and there's a lot of primary colors you see here, like there's the red, the yellow, and the blues. So in these classes, I'll teach you how to make oranges. I'll teach you how to make greens and even these turquoise colors. So it's just about how much red or how much yellow you add to make different tones of oranges, as an example. So just show up and I'll teach you how to make these colors along the way. So in addition to something to paint on and paints to use for painting with, I have a pencil for a little sketching up front. I have a cup of water to rinse my brushes. I have an array of brushes that I'm using for today's class. I have a big brush, a small brush, and a couple detailed brushes. I'm primarily going to be using the big brush for some of the larger, more coverage areas, and then some of the detail brushes for the other things. Now, one of the things I love about the inspiration today is that you're going to take it where you want to go. Today's class could be very simple, and you could have just maybe like 10 to 12 rays, or you could be really detailed and do like many rays like this one with a lot of finer lines. The more lines of the rays that you make, the longer it's going to take you to paint it. So I just want you to know and keep that in mind that we'll do as much as we can within 90 minutes, but this class is for you. It's for you to unwind. It's for you to relax and enjoy the process. So I want you to know that always go at your own pace. If you want to take a little longer, etc. Okay. So what we're going to do next is you have your paints ready. You have your brushes. I encourage you to grab a paper towel for any messes and some bonus supplies. So for some of our classes, sometimes we have bonus supplies to help us. Now, since today's class is fairly, has some very structured lines, a pencil is very helpful. If you have a ruler at home, grab a ruler. This is clear, but it's here. This will give us some nice straight lines, especially some nice symmetrical shapes. Now, sometimes a ruler, when we do like symmetrical designs like this, people like to have things very even all around. I'm going to eyeball it, but this will help me get consistent lines around my sun. And then in addition, you always need a small plate to mix your colors on. But also for today's inspiration, there is a round object that is a sun in the middle. Now, you can have an oval, you can have a round circular object. One of the things I'll share is that I love to grab something round to trace, and it will help with positioning. So I have a lot of round objects here. I have this color wheel, which is actually quite a perfect size here for the painting. And I have some painter's tape, which is also a helpful tool to have for today if you want to have any clear lines and you can paint within the lines. So bonus items for today, something round to trace, whether it's a small bowl upstairs in your kitchen, something round, a small plate. So if you want to take a minute, go upstairs, go grab, if you have any painter's tape, grab some painter's tape. If you have a round bowl or object, I promise I won't get started without you. You can even also pause this video if you're not attending the live today, but go grab some like a round object to trace to the circular area and then painter's tape if you have it. Okay. And we'll go ahead and jump in and get started. Just a minute. So if you do have a round object, I'm just going to start by placing this here in the center. And this, we're going to do a little bit of sketching up front to get the composition down and in. So I'm going to place this circle in the center, and this is going to be my round sun. Now, this is fairly big, but I'm okay with that. I'm here just to have fun. So I'm going to use my pencil and draw a circle around my shape. There we go. So I have a nice circle right there. Bring it a little closer so you can see it. Awesome. And again, if you're new to my channel or new here, I just want to welcome you. We have a lot of returning members and really participants of our artist community. So welcome back if you're one of our original folks. And if you're new here, I encourage you to like this video if you're having a great time and subscribe to my channel so you get notifications on future classes. So I went ahead and put in my circle. Now, if you're back and you just went upstairs to get a bowl from your kitchen, perfect. Just outline your circle for your sun center. That's one of our first parts. The next thing you'll need is a flat edge. If you don't happen to have a ruler in your home, I encourage you to find something like a magazine or a piece of cardboard, even a cereal box will work, okay? And we're going to first start off by doing some really basic points. So I want you to find visually the middle of the circle. And I'm going to find it I'm going to eyeball it. So I'm placing this line centered, this edge of my flat edge in the middle of the circle. And I'm going to draw a line above the top of the circle and a line below it. So I'm doing my first vertical line. And if it's not incredibly perfect, it's okay. We're having fun here. So we're going to add lots of lines. So the first lines we're going to add is that initial vertical line. And then I'm going to find the middle of the circle and do the horizontal line. Now, if you need to lay your canvas flat, I'm up on an easel, which is making it a little tricky. But I'm going to do it. Do a horizontal edge on the left and a horizontal edge on the right. This is giving us some structure to our sun rays. Now, I want you to continue with this process and think about how many sun rays do I want to add around the sun? You may not know. But the easy way to start out is you could, if I have 4 quadrants right now, and I'll bring this a little closer so you can see it. If you have 4 quadrants right now, right there, I'm going to start with one diagonal. And I'm going to hold this and I'm going to go up to the corner all the way off the page. I'm going to hold this shape and go all the way down. So I'm doing the bottom and the opposite sides at the same time. So I did a line on this side and I did a line up here. And you can see it's starting to split and divide those quadrants. Now, this is one of the really fun parts of these classes. You can add as many or as few quadrants that you want. Now, if you look at this inspiration, if I divided this into 4 quadrants, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 14. You don't need to do 14 lines in each quadrant. Do as many as you want, but take this and continue. So far, I have a circle in the middle for anybody that's just joined us. I did a vertical quadrant and a horizontal quadrant to get the 1, 2, 3, 4. And I did my first diagonal quadrant. I'm going to do my second diagonal quadrant. Again, I'm creating my sun rays. Right now, they're really big. And I want you to keep going and add as many of these as you wish. Now, the more you add, the longer it's going to take to paint in, but that's the fun part. So just have a little fun with it. I may maybe divide, so my top four, my left quadrant, right, bottom, and bottom, if it's right now split into two, I might take these two and create four total. So use your pencil, create this framework, and then we're going to fill them in together in lots of really fun ways. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to use my ruler, and you can just eyeball this, but make sure you play with the angle. And again, outer circle and up. And I'm going to do it over here. And it doesn't have to be perfectly even. If you want it to be, you can. I'm just going to have some fun with it. Oops. And if your ruler moves, it's okay. Pencil will erase. Don't worry. You may want to lay your easel flat down. So I'm just going to work my way around. And I'm going to divide. So each of my four initial quadrants are going to have 4 rays of sunshine. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I may even break it up more than that, but let's just see how things go. So let's see. I'm going to turn my canvas so I can finish my sun rays equally around. And I'm just going to keep going. Now for me, I'm just going to turn my canvas and I'm going to find the center visually with my eye here and just do some straight lines. These straight lines are just giving me that guidance. So I have a little bit of framework to work with here. And this framework will allow us to creatively just kind of like let go of, creating the structure by creating the structure up front, you can have more fun with colors and designs after, okay? So if you're just joining us, welcome. I want you to know that we started with 4 basic quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm dividing like these 4 background squares into 1, 2, 3, 4 sun rays per area. So I'm just working my way around. Let's see. This one I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's done. So I'm going to rotate my canvas. Since I'm on an easel, it's easier for me to move my canvas around to get those designs. Now I have something to admit to you. If I wanted to do more sun rays, which could be really fun, I could easily, look at that. I could easily do more. And as an artist, you have that choice. So I'm going to bring this nice and close. And you get to make a choice as an artist. How many sun rays you add, how much detail you want to do. Now, everyone watching this class is going to be inspired to do certain something. If this is enough sun rays for you, great. If we keep this class to about 90 minutes, I would suggest, and maybe you don't have more than 90 minutes today, and that's how much time you want to spend playing on this, I wouldn't do any more sun rays. I would love to do a lot more. But if we want to stay within our time frame today, keeping it like a short, sort of semi-short class, we could just do this. So I just want you to know, if you have more time and you're willing to dedicate more time, add some more, right? You can have little tiny ones just like this. And you could even do those little tiny designs within each of these too. So you could use the quadrants and the lines that you started with, and we can evolve from there. And maybe we'll do a little bit of that as a practice, okay? So again, I use my pencil, I use my lined ruler to do some of that work. Now, we can have some more fun. Now, one of the things that we can do next is, once you're done these lines, if you have any lines that need to be erased, maybe you made like a mistake, I'm just going to come in and just do a little bit of an erase. But you can figure out what colors you want to use. Now, I encourage you to think about, what are some of your favorite colors? And I'll talk through the colors that are used in the inspiration. There is oranges. There's like an orangey pink red color. There's a blue and there's a greenish color. So as an example, say we have red and blue. Do a second version of red and do a second version of blue. Pretty neat, right? So the colors that I'm going to use today intentionally are, I'm going to use like an orange and blue as my two primaries. And then I'm going to do an alternative blue color. And then I'm going to do an alternative orange color. Okay. We're going to keep some white in here. So you'll see some white come through. But I'm going to focus on orange and blue as my primary colors that I'm going to use, and then two variations of those. And you'll see what we do with those in just a minute. And we're going to kind of rinse and repeat a pattern all the way around. So we're going to keep it really easy as we get going, and we'll just change it up as we go, which is always really fun. All right, so I'm going to start by making an orange color that I like. So I'm going to grab one of my bigger brushes. This is a 1/2 inch flat tip brush. It's actually a rounded tip, rounded tip brush. And I have some palette paper that I'm using today. If you ever have any questions about supplies, don't ever hesitate to ask. You can use it in the comments below and I'll answer those for you. Palette paper is kind of like using a paper plate, but it's kind of like a wax paper substance that you can put paints right on. And then you can just discard the paper when you're done, which is kind of neat. But I'm going to make an orange of my choice. So I'm going to start to make an orange. Imagine you didn't have any orange colors. I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. And then I'm going to put a little bit of red on my plate too. Now don't put it inside of the yellow. Put it near the yellow. And I'll teach you how to blend an orange. Okay. So here is my yellow and here is my red. To make orange, you bring very little red into the yellow. So I'm going to dip the corner of my brush and I'm going to mix it into my orange. All right. And then you can go back and get a little bit more if you need a little bit more. But find an orange that you like, that you want to use. Sometimes people like having a really bright orange. Sometimes people like having more of like a blood orange color with a little bit more of a red tone. If you want a little bit of a gray tone, kind of grayscale, you can add a little bit of black to this to mute it. So it's absolutely up to you on what colors you want to use and where. So I have a nice orange right here. And you can always change the color of these objects too. This is just base colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the whole middle of this circle. And I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. I'm going to leave a little bit of room for some fun stylistic design, but I'm going to just do the majority of this sun. I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch before I get to the line. Do a nice smooth brush coat. We're going to fill in the center. The center of this color can change. Don't worry. We can add lots of fun designs inside of this if you want to. The possibilities are really endless. And with all of my classes, I want you to relax and enjoy the process. Try not to think about all the details. One of the most empowering things about art is kind of letting go of what you think you should be doing and just letting it happen. It's very liberating to know that really cool things can happen without a ton of forethought. It's just about believing in yourself. So look at that. Beautiful. I know I did that really quickly. It just happened to just go nice and smoothly, but I left a little bit of a gap. You can see that around it. Now I'm going to have some fun. So I love details, and I want you to do as much or as little details as you wish. But in these classes, I love going with the flow and incorporating my own designs and my own ideas along the way. So I'm going to be done with this big brush for a while. So I'm just going to put that to side. And I'm going to grab a small brush of choice. And I'm going to have some fun adding a little bit of, it's not a scallop design. It's like a little bit of a ridge design around the sun. So I will go ahead and grab a small brush, and I'll bring this a little closer for you. And I'm not going to put my finger in it, but I'm just going to have fun and just do a couple of these swoops. I'm just having fun with a little bit of extra design. They're like little waves kind of around the sun. just going to get a little bit of paint. And if you need to turn your canvas as you go, you could turn your canvas. If you don't want to do this part, you don't have to. This is just me having fun. Art, again, is just recognizing that the process of creativity is incorporating an idea you have along the way. I'm just kind of doing like a little wave up and down, up and down. If you need to change brushes, change brushes. Kind of adding a little bit of texture around my sun. And I'm staying within those pencil lines. Now, I'm not aiming for perfection here. I'm having a good time. So I'm just going to turn my canvas again. You're welcome to rotate your canvas. You're welcome to move around any way that you're most comfortable painting. You do that. So really fun. It's not perfectly even, but guess what? It doesn't have to be, because it's from afar, it's all going to come together. So just believe and trust in the process. And if you're new to my classes, I want you to know we always start with some of our basic layers, and then we add some fun fit and flair from there. Okay. So I'm going to put this upright so you can take a peek at what it looks like. Really fun, right? Basic, fun sun flares all around. Okay. So this is where, as you're working on those details, I can talk about what's next. So I see so many ideas and designs from our inspiration. And I want you to incorporate what resonates for you the most. Now, since we're going to be using a certain color palette, for me, it's orange and blue. And then I'll make probably a blood orange color for my second orange. And then I'll probably make a greenish blue, because I love like a teal, for my second blue color. But I want to use the color that we're using now. And I want you to think of a pattern that you want to incorporate into your sun rays. It can be anything you want. Now we're going to stay within our structure, but you're going to love this because it's going to provide you consistency in shape and form, because we're going to stay within our framework that we just outlined. So I'm going to have some fun. I have a small brush with my orange on it. And I'm going to do just like a little bit of a line in the middle of each. I'm just going to start out really simple. In the middle of each of my sun rays, I'm doing a little line, and I'm just going to start simple and see where it goes. I'm going to turn my canvas. I want my lines to be consistent. I want the placement to be consistent. So I am going for a little bit of symmetry. Luckily, we did some pre-sketching to help with that. If it's not perfect, it's okay. But it's mainly overall going to look fairly well balanced at a high level. I'm just doing little lines and going all the way around. Now, if you wanted to do lines that are different than mine, do different lines. Okay, I'm going to flip it back normal so you can see where we're going. And look, now I have a sun. It's evolving. My rays will continue to evolve, which is really fun. Now, what I'm going to do next is every other ray, I'm going to add a little bit more orange. So maybe I'll do a little bit of a bauble. Maybe this is kind of like a petal shape. I'm having fun. That's all that matters. And I'm going to do this consistent shape every other. So you don't have to do this petal shape if you don't want to. You could do like a long, thin linear line, like one of those. That's fine. I'm going to do those long linear lines too. I'm just having fun with some of the details. I'm going to go skip a sun ray. So I want you to follow your own rhythm here. I want you to follow your own beat. I'm going to turn my canvas as we go. And I love this. I hope you're having fun. This is such a blast. I'm going to slowly turn this. I'm going every other sun ray. Oops. And I'm going to just do a little by little detailed design. And I'm doing all my oranges first. And if I need to go back in and do some additional orange designs, I can always do that after. But I want to add some fundamental orange first. And I will make these look more like sun rays, I promise. I'm just having fun with the detail. Okay. Again, I'm rotating. And I'm just doing these long leafy style designs because why not? There's a lot of different shapes and movement with the designs that are from this inspiration. And then I'm going to rotate this, and I have one more. Now, the reason it was every other, it's because I did some very intentional designs up front. And you can see it's all very consistent to the eye because we have all those outlined areas, which is really quite cool. I'm going to think about, is there anywhere else I want to add orange before I continue? Now I may add a little bit of a line, maybe just on the left side of the petal. So again, I'm being so footloose and fancy free here. I'm just incorporating ideas that I have. So I'm coming around the petal, leaving a little bit of spacing. I'm using a single brush. I want to have a consistent brush stroke. But I'm going with the flow. So I want you to pick a style and just rinse and repeat it so it's consistent in each of your sun rays. And we're going to switch to a new color in just a few minutes once we're done with our orange initially. Okay. Take a deep breath. Enjoy this. It can be very therapeutic if you give yourself the time to unwind and enjoy the process. I'm going to get a little bit more paint. Again, I'm going just on the left side only, leaving a little bit of space. You want a nice solid brush stroke. Again, I'm turning my canvas so I can paint along here with you, but it's expanding the sun rays. See how these lines are going off the page? I'm doing my own take and design based on the inspiration. And that's what we do in these classes. We may start with an inspiration, but we want you to take this and personalize it on your own. So I'm going to come in and out. But I want you to take a deep breath, enjoy the process. If you need to pause the video and grab a cup of your hot favorite tea, do whatever you need to do to settle in to make this boho sunshine yours. So always take your time. Again, I'm doing a single line on the left side of these petals, and I'm staying within the sunray detail. And we're getting a really beautiful symmetrical design. All right. And then I can think about, well, do I want to add orange anywhere else before I move on? And we may come in and we may do some second coats on some of these leaves and petals. Those are all details that we could do after. Sometimes doing a second coat will really make something nice and solid in color. But I think I'm going to transition to another color so we can bring in more color to our painting. But I love where we're going so far. I didn't know exactly where we we're going to go today, but I love it so far. And you can see it's my own take. Yours is going to be your own personality and your own take on your own design. Okay, so I am going to clean my brush and I'm going to transition to a blue color. Now, if you need a little more time, always take your own time. Do more detail work if you want, but I've done enough of this color. I want to hold some space for blue and go from there. All right, so I'm going to take my blue. This is like a blue lake color. And I'm gonna mix the right shade of blue that I want. So if I didn't want to use this punchy blue, I actually might make it a little bit lighter. You can pick and choose what colors you want to use at different times. And in these classes, again, I'll teach you and show you how to blend and do different colors. All right. So with a little bit of blue on my plate, I think I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of black on my plate as well because I want to make it a little bit of a gray tone. So I'm going to do a little blue on my plate and a little bit of black. There we go. All righty. There's a little bit of blue. So I had a little bit of malfunction with my blue paint. Imagine that. All right. In these classes, I will teach you to not stress. You will get paint on your hands. You may knock your cup of water over. Guess what? It's going to be okay. I promise. All right. So I have a little bit of blue on my plate. I have a little bit of black. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and I'm going to grab a tiny bit of my black just to make it a little bit of a grayish blue color, just because that's like the color that I want. So again, mix whatever your secondary color is. I'm going to make enough of this too so I don't run out. I have blue and I'm mixing a little bit of a black to make it a gray color, grayish blue. So always take your time mixing colors in these classes because I want you to be happy with your color choices. Very important. All right, I'm going to make a little bit more of this so I don't run out of it. Perfect. Should be enough. This is pretty dark. I might need to add a little bit more blue. And you can always, if the color is a little too dark, but you like that grayscale, you can add a little bit of white to it to soften the color. That's okay too. So I'm going to try to start with this. If this color I mixed is too dark, guess what? I can easily add a little bit of white and transition it. So now I want to add a little bit of blue to this, and I want to figure out where to do it. Now, I had the orange petal leaf, and I have these orange lines. And I am going to jump into the blue, and I'm going to do a blue design in the other ones, the every other. So maybe I'll do, I don't know, 2 little petals. Just to start and see. You don't have to do petals that I'm doing. I'm just having fun. This is just what I'm inspired to do today. I want you to do a line or a shape that is consistent all the way around. So see how I'm doing 2 petals all the way around? Whatever you want to do, whether it's a single line, it could be a flowy, wavy, bendy line. I want you to do it consistently in the every other areas. Okay. So I'm going to rotate this. And this is you. If you want to take a couple minutes to think about like what you want these designs to be. Again, they could just be long sun rays. I'm being really playful with adding like other elements into mine today. It's just what I wanted to play with as an artist. But I am going to add more sun rays, like long sun ray lines as well. This is just a little bit of added detail. Okay. So I'm going to rotate my canvas. And I'm going in the every other area. Okay. And if I'm going quickly, you just take your time. Know that you go at your own speed. It's all good. There we go. And some of mine are a little bigger and smaller than others. Guess what? It's okay. I don't sweat. Like in these classes, it's all about having fun. And that's what I really want to pass on to you. You don't have to take, art doesn't always have to be a really serious thing. It can be a really fun thing too. So this sun ray is a little skinnier, which is kind of interesting, which is totally fine. Your sun rays, mine, I did not draw perfectly, so it's all good. So maybe I just extend these and make them a little longer to visually match. Okay, so great. So now I'm going to add some more sun ray designs, since you're probably like, Megan, we're supposed to be doing sun rays. So I'm going to do, I'll do that fun hourglass shape for you. I'm going to do one line. It's going to come out and in and out and in, kind of like the design. And then I can just fill this right in. Okay, so this is where we can do more of like a strong conventional design versus a lot of little details. Some of you may already be doing this. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing all the way around. I'm gonna mix a little bit more paint before I get too far because I don't want to lose this color. So if you need to mix more paint along the way, don't hesitate to do that. Mixing this really good. All right, might add a little bit more blue. But I love this wavy sun ray design. That was one of the things that drew me towards doing this inspiration with you all. So I'm going to go skinny at the top, out and in, out and in. Just have confidence when you paint. It can be a little tricky, especially don't paint that often, but just go for it. I talk a lot about like having fear in these classes, about the uncertainty. And if you can just be in the moment and know that anything you paint, you can correct, you'll be just fine. So I'm going to grab a little bit more, and I'm going to do a skinny out and in design. Grab a little bit more paint. In and out, in and out. That hourglass design. And this paint's actually a little darker than the other one, the other version, which is fine. You can always tweak your colors after. But it's good just to keep going. Let an area dry. Acrylic paint is really forgiving. There we go. So I'm going to rotate my canvas and continue this design all the way around. Blue and orange are complementary colors, so they go really well together. Some of your sun rays may be a little shorter on the sides. Totally fine. Have a little bit more paint. Out and in, out and in, out and in, out. Just be consistent of your shapings and the size, and then it will look very similar to all the others when you're done. Even though not everything is, exactly the same shape and size, when you are standing back from your painting, you'll notice the symmetry. You'll notice that it all matches, which is the most important thing. All right. So I go out and in, out and in and out. Use your paintbrush. If you need to use a smaller brush, downsize to a smaller brush. If you're using a smaller brush and need to use a bigger brush, use a bigger brush. I'm using a number 3 round tip brush. Everybody uses different tools when they paint, so just find a brush that works well for you. There's not one right or wrong brush to use. An artist usually gets a feeling for that themselves on which one they want to use at whatever point. So I'm going to go out and in, out, in and out. Reminding myself to do the same shaping. I'm centering it. I'm doing it in these every other sun rays. And I hope you're enjoying class so far. If you're new here, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. I have live events often, and I have many video tutorials that you may like to do, whether it's acrylic paints or watercolors. But in my classes, I will always encourage you to use whatever supplies you have. You don't need to use acrylics if you don't have acrylics at home. You could always use whatever. You could use colored pencils. You could use pastels. You could use watercolors for nearly all my classes. So just join us and see what happens. Awesome. So you can see this really fun sun consistency I've started to create. Now, if it's important for you to have like more sunshine colors, like more yellows and more oranges, I encourage you to do that. I was kind of keeping with the sunshine look of that center and then the burst. So that's what I was going for there. Now, this blue is fairly dark in color, so I'm not going to do a ton more dark colors. This is really the contrast that I'm going to use as like my darkest element. So I'm going to clean this brush and I'm going to let that dry. So take your time to finish your secondary color. So my initial color was the orange and my secondary color is the blue. And now in the beginning of class, I talked about we're going to use 4 colors total. We have our primary, 2 primaries, which for me is the orange and the blue. And then we have secondary colors we're going to be. So my secondary colors are going to be a blood orange, which is going to match this orange. And then I'm going to be doing a tealish blue, a little lighter, to match with this other blue. And we're going to continue the circular sunray design based on your personality, based on your styles, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to clean off my brushes and I'm going to mix the secondary orange color, which for me is going to be a little bit more of a blood orange. So I'm going to just mix that color. If you're still working and finishing up your blue details, don't worry, but just know you can always go back to them. So don't feel rushed. Just go at your own pace. Whatever these secondary colors are, just make enough of it so you don't run out. So I'm taking the time to make colors that I like. This is a really strong orange, which is fine. I might add a little bit of white to it to lighten it just a little bit. So in these classes, I always want you to mix the colors that you'd like. So I want to show you see how orangey this is. It's pretty dark. I want it to be a little lighter. I like the hue, which is like this version of orange, but I want to make it a little lighter. So I'm going to grab a little bit of white. To soften it. And I might even make it a little bit more blood orangey. So I'm going to add more red to it. So again, play with the colors on your plate. Find the colors that work for you. I'm going to add a little bit more red. And I'm going to add a little more white just to see what happens. So I mixed more red in. I'm going to swirl that around. Then I'm going to add a little bit of white. So it might give me a softer tone, which is exactly what I want. But first mix that base hue color first. So that version of orange, right? So I have that. It's a very blood orange color. I'm going to take a little scoop of the white that's nearby, and I'm just going to mix it in, see what happens. Perfect. I'm getting a softer color, which is exactly what I want, but it's the same hue. It's just lighter. So I'm almost done with that. And I'm going to figure out how I want to incorporate this color. So I want to continue the sun ray look and feel. So I'm going to mix that color. I'm going to spin my brush so there is a nice consistent amount of paint on it. See, it's not too goopy. It's not like really thick. I'm going to figure out what I want to add where and next. So I have a choice I have to make. Do I put my secondary orange with my first orange, or do I put it near the blue? Let's see what they did over here. They did every other. So they did blue, red, green, orange, blue, red, green, orange. So there's consistency over here. So what I could do is I just need to pick one area to put this. And I think I'm going to go on the opposite. I'm going to go on the right side of the blue. And I think I'm just going to do a little bit of a wave. I'm going to go off the page. A little bit of a line. Now I can decide, no, I'm going to put a green in between here, but I can decide what I want this shape maybe to be. So I made it into a little bit of an hourglass. I added a little bit of shape to it. It's more narrow. So I'm going to keep this consistently. For me, the design that I came up with is on the right side of the blue. I come down and it's a little bit comes out and in. So find a shape and design that works for you. Mine's more wide in the middle and more narrow on the top and the bottom going off the page. That's what mine decided what it wants to be. Totally fine. It will be consistent as it goes around. So I'm going to grab a little bit more and I'm going to do a line. It's going to come out and down. And if I paint on my line, if I go over into the design next door, that's okay. It's more about like the visual. So for me, I went over the sunray line a little bit in each. It's okay. Any pencil lines that we have on here after that are not painted on, we can erase. When acrylic is dry, you can erase pencil that's not painted on. Anywhere that you do paint on, you may need to do a second coat if you can see that pencil underneath. So there's that one right there. I'm going to turn my canvas and I'm going to keep and maintain this design. So for me, I'm just doing a line on the right and I'm doing a little bit of an hourglass. So it comes out wide in the middle and then it gets more tailored going off the page. So find a design that works for you and just do that, repeat it throughout your pattern as you go around. So I'm going to come out and in. And I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between the oranges because I'm going to put a little teal right there. So I'm trying to leave a little bit of space for another secondary design. So you can keep that in mind if you remember. Go nice and slow. Take your time. There's no rush. Take a couple deep breaths and enjoy the process. Again, I want to thank you for being here. I hope you're having fun. These classes are meant for you to try new things, practice your creativity, kind of showing up and just seeing what happens. It can be very liberating to not always have a plan, but just see what happens based on our starting inspiration. It's quite fun. So I did that orangey on the other side. And I'm rotating this and you can see it's coming together quite well. Oh, I just stuck my brush in the blue. That's not a good thing. Blue and orange will give you brown. So clean off that brush really well if you do what I did. Make sure you use your paper towel to clean it off to make sure you don't get it to be mucky or anything. All right, so on the other side of the blue here, I'm going to come down and out. And these are base colors. We can do more detail to this base work after. And I love doing mixed media using ink pens on top of this. You could do really intricate detail, which would be really fun. I would love to do that as a part 2. Wouldn't that be wonderful of this class? So if that interests you, definitely comment below if you think a part 2 would be fun because we could do that together. But I've completed my pattern all the way around with my third color. My third color is this peachy color, okay? So you can see it looks like sun. It looks like sun rays. Awesome. I want you to continue working on yours so you continue to bring it to life in a way that, is meaningful to you. Now, I may use a little bit more of this color. I may do, I'm not sure. I want to add more oranges, but I'm not sure if I want to add more of the lighter orange or if I want to add more of the peachy orange. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a line on the right side of these petals. I might just do a little bit of a line coming down to extend the rays. So again, I just find an area that I want to do it consistently around. I chose the right side of the orange petal. I'm just rotating this. And I'm kind of doing a matching hourglass figure around and down off the page to add more continual, like long lines, beaming work. And again, use a brush that you wish. I'm using a 3. I could be using a smaller brush, but I'm really fine with this. These lines can be as thick or as thin as you wish. My lines are fairly thick because I'm just being very bold today. So I'm not being dainty with my lines by any means. But I'm choosing my shape and my form, and I'm being consistent and intentional with my color choices and the placement. So again, I'm going on the right side of these orange petals. I'm doing kind of a matching hourglass line shape. In and out and down. And I will bring in a secondary bluish green color next. But for me, I wanted to add a little bit more of those sunshine colors. So I'm going to do this here, around and out and down. All right. Take your time. If I'm going quickly, just slow down, pause the video, keep working, replay the video. A lot of people in my classes leave the video playing and they just keep doing what they're doing. So you just listen, follow along, let the video play, and then just keep going at your own pace. You can kind of tune me out, which is one of the best parts. So that's where you get into your own zone. And I'm sure many of you are feeling that now. You're getting into your groove about what colors you want to use where. It feels so good if you can get there. Just try to let go of the notion that you need to be doing a certain something. You don't. You can just be in the moment and just see what happens. And this is what I have from being in the moment and being consistent with colors and shapes. Okay. So I think I want to add a little bit more of that orangey color before I do the teals, because the teals are going to be maybe a little, I can make them lighter, but I don't want them to be too dark. So I can make a choice if I want to go back and add another color, or if I want to go and add the other. So I have a choice to make. I think I want to add this orange that I had initially, which I need to mix more color of. I'm going to add a small line of it next to the blue just to continue the ray. And then I'll go in and add some of that tealish green color. Okay. So again, your choices, you choose, but I'm going to grab a little bit more yellow. If anyone has questions about what products to use, I've been teaching virtual classes for over 7 years. I teach a lot of team building events for big and small companies all over the country. And I'm here to support you as you think about what you might want to paint and why. So be sure to comment below if there's any way I can help you with your supply needs. But I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit more of this orangey color. I think I need a little tiny touch of red. Oh, it looks like I have a little bit right there. Let's see if I can use that. And if it's not exactly the same, it's okay. I'm going to try to get it as close as possible. And I'm just going to do a small, thin line. If you wanted to use a smaller brush, you can. I've just been using the same brush. It's okay. You can always change brushes. But I'm going to do a thin line right next to, and you can always dip your brush in a little bit of water. Helps a lot. I always use water in my classes with acrylic. It's really fun, but it helps make it easier to move the paint around. But I'm doing a little bit of this. I'm doing a single line on the left side of the blue. I'm just outlining the shape, but I'm leaving a little bit of a white space. This is the one I did right here. I'm maintaining that wave because the wave was a big part of the inspiration for me. If you don't want to have these wavy lines, you can do as many straight lines as you wish, but I'm going to rotate my canvas. And on the right side of each of these blue areas with a little bit of padding, I'm just going to do a line all the way down and off the page to continue that sunshine. So again, on the left-hand side of these blue elements, I'm going to do a nice smooth line. Whatever your design is, do it consistently within each of these areas. Incorporate your own ideas along the way. Again, I'm rotating my canvas. If there's any questions along the way, do not hesitate to ask. I'm here to support you. And I'm doing a consistent orange line in each of these areas that we had pre-drawn. So I'm going to rotate my canvas for consistency. I have a little bit of water and a little bit of orange mixed here. Take a deep breath and enjoy the process. Go nice and slow. If you need to get more paint along the way, please do that. But if you're enjoying this video, I encourage you to like the video. If you think someone else may enjoy this, I encourage you to share this video with them. It's very relaxing and therapeutic just to unwind and not think about it too much. Again, I'm rotating my canvas so I have most control as possible. I also, to have a more stable hand when you're doing detail work, you can place your pinky on your canvas to have more stability. So I use my pinky sometimes for stability on my canvas. So I will go nice and slow around this object. Go back and get more paint, leaving a little bit of spacing. And I'm continuing this bursting sun design. Going nice and slow. But I want to thank you for being here and supporting my small business. I hope that you enjoy my classes. If you're a first timer, welcome. All right, I'm gonna have one more to do for my consistent design all the way around my sun. All right, so I did a orange to orange line on the left side of each of the blue areas. And I have a very consistent look and feel, which is great. Now, again, another disclaimer I know that I mentioned earlier. We always start with like the background base colors for our work. I can spend another hour or 2 hours doing additional detail work on top of this, which we could absolutely do. So it's absolutely up to you on what you want to do and where. The other thing I'll add is that you may have visual gaps that you may want to add in a little bit more of this or that. So as an example, I have some larger white gaps in some areas like here that I want to add in a little bit more of this sunshine color. So I'm just I'm filling in this space in between these two with a little bit of a leaf. So I'm just going to look around to say, do I want to add that, anywhere else? So it's in between these two. I'm just going to look around and see, do I want to add any more of the orange before I switch to my bluish green color, which is the fourth color I'm doing. Do I want to add any more of this anywhere else? And I just want to add it into places consistently. So I'm putting in like a little bit of a leaf design, barely a leaf design in between these. So in between the oranges, just a little bit, just to fill some of the white space. So in between here, I don't have too much room. Little bit, I have a little bit of room down here. There we go. And then down here, you kind of look on the design so you're in the right spot. That's where the consistency helps. If and where you make designs, you do it in a consistent place based on our initial sketches. Okay, so that looks good. I have it all over. I'm going to let that dry. Again, take your time with each of these details. I am going to make my greenish color next. So I love making a greenish blue color. So I have a bunch of blue on my plate that is spilling everywhere. And to make a bluish green, you just add a little bit of yellow. Now I have a little bit of yellow here. I'm just going to mix that in here and I'm going to make a bluish green color. And I'm probably going to add a little bit of white to it to lighten it so it's not too dark. So I have a nice bluish green happening here. I'm just going to mix this all around. It's going to make it a teal. I just added a little bit of yellow because I had that. So you can see I have a nice teal color happening. I am going to grab a little bit of my white. I'm going to spin my brush really good, get some of the paint off. I have some extra white on the other side of my plate. I'm going to bring some of that in to lighten it. So again, take your time mixing the colors that you like. Very important. I'm going to make this significantly lighter. You can see it's lightening it up a little bit, but I want this to be much lighter. So I'm going to grab some more paint. I'm going to put the white nearby so I can control and be intentional of how much white paint I bring in. So I'm just going to take a scoop of it, bring it right in, mix it around. And you can see it's already getting lighter, which is exactly what I need it to be doing. Perfect. And I want you to mix it so the paint color is consistent throughout. And I like keeping the paint right in the center as I'm mixing so it stays all together. See that? There's like a little volcano in the middle, a little mountain in the middle. There's a lot of ways of mixing paint, but any way that you want is fine. But it's all consistent. I'm spinning my brush on my plate to manage the amount of paint on my brush. So now I'm going to think about where I want to incorporate some of these next designs. Now I'm going to try to keep consistent forms. So I'm going to do in between these gaps. So in between the orange and the yellow here, I am going to do a design. So I can either do a straight line, which is probably fine, or I could do a little design in the middle. So I might do like a little leaf. I'm just going to be playful here. I'm doing 2 little leaves, and maybe I'll just kind of tuck a little line on top. So I just did 2 little leaves and I connected a line on top. Again, it may not look that way in each of these, but I'm just going to be playful. So I'm just going to do a little leaf, stacked on top of one another, and let's do a line, kind of going upwards. Now, again, you can use a smaller brush if you want to. I'm just staying consistent. It does not matter. I could definitely use a smaller brush here. I'm just having fun, really, with these bigger brush strokes. So again, finding between my orange and my 2 oranges here. I don't have a ton of space over here, but that's okay. Just bringing in that color, doing a little bit of that design is better than nothing. Keeping spacing if you have spacing. There we go. And I'm just going to work my way around in the same spot. So I have a line, a little bit of a leaf, and then a little bit of a leaf here. And just do as much or as little as you need to. And then I find the same spot. So here I don't have a ton of room. So I would rather keep some of the white spacing around for it to be consistent. Maybe I dip my brush in a little bit of water. If this paint is too thick, that might help make it a little bit more thin, or you can downsize to a smaller brush. Take your time on these details. Again, I'm finding the consistent areas. Here we go. I'm just going to rotate. And again, I'm not done with adding color. I can add more color and add more detail work. I'm just doing some of the large major areas. And today's painting is a great example of artwork just evolving along the way. We're not even, we're probably halfway there, right? With regards to where this is. We've only been painting for about an hour. So it's amazing to see how a painting can transform in such a short amount of time. So if anything, I encourage you to watch this until the end of the video to see how this transforms, because it's going to look different when we're done. Again, I'm finding that same place, being consistent with my brush strokes. All right. And I think we're good. I think I went all the way around. I'm just going to tip this back here. And you're going to start to notice things that you might want to do a little bit more or less of. For me, I'm noticing that there's a lot of white space around the middle of the sun. Now, you may like that, but for me, I'm going to add a little bit of this turquoise design to help fill in. So am I going to do a line, or am I going to do a little bit of a wiggle? Let's see. I might do a little bit of a bow design. I might do it on either side. Now, again, I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm doing it in every other. So figure out where you may have white space and how you may want to fill it in. And we have these 4 colors of our palette. Again, I'm going every other. Try not to stick your finger in wet paint like I do. All right, and then I'm just doing kind of an arc design on the right and an arc coming down. I have a little bit of water on my brush with a little bit of this teal. And this is helping fill in some of that white space for me, which is what I wanted visually. So you have to really use your visual creative senses to fill in where you want to as you go. So that filled it in. I want to do a little bit more, but I think I might want to use a different color. So I'm thinking about using the reddish color on the inside. But since I have my teal, I need to figure out, do I want to add teal anywhere else? And it may be fun to do some teal dots, maybe right here along the red. So if you want to add any dotting, I'm going right along the edge of this red line. So if you want to add any dotting, do it consistently. I'm going to rotate my canvas. And it's on this big red one. So I'm going to just I'm leaving that white spacing. I'm just doing little dots in a line going down all the way off the page. That long linear line is really helping to maintain some of that sunshine array look. So I'm going to find that shape, follow that design all the way around. Rotate this canvas. Get some more paint on your brush. If you need to use a different brush to do any dotting, feel free. I go get a little more paint. I spin my brush on my plate to have a nice fine tip. And one of the things I love about these classes is that you never know what's going to happen. You know, our inspiration was over here. We're going to do a fun boho design. Everybody's is going to look a little different based on our ideas and what we're inspired to do. But I love the way this is coming out. It's so fun. I encourage you to take your time, go at your own speed. At this point, you can ignore all those pencil lines because we have our quadrants and we are staying right within those quadrants, right? We have our designs and our shapes and everything is in place. So we're good there. We're just continuing the repetitive design in the different areas as we go around. So again, I'm rotating. I'm going on the right side of these large kind of red baubles, doing a line of dots in this teal, really to help fill in some of the white space. That's why I was doing it. And then I'm good. So I'm going to flip this back the right way, and you can see how much it's evolved already since then, which is really fun. So again, I have teal in my hand. Do I want to add teal anywhere else before I continue? Now, I do have some spaces where I have a little bit of extra white space on the other side by this orange line. So where I do have a little bit of extra space, I'm going to put in a little bit of extra dotting. It may not be on every area, which is okay, but for me, it's going to help fill that space in. Just like that. And I may or may not put anything in between that. I can decide after. But for me, I like the white space that I've created in areas. I'm just going to examine. So there's not a lot of room down here to add a second line, so I'm not going to do it down here. But if I go to the next visually, there's room to add a few more dots over here. Do you see that? All right. Then if I rotate it again, there's a lot of room down here to add more dots. So it's continuing the design, continuing the colors and the pattern. And I think we're pretty good with those secondary dots. So you're gonna choose where you need to maybe add additional things. Okay, awesome. So this is where you can rinse and repeat. Think about what other colors you may want to add and where. So for me, I think I've added the teal for now and all those other areas. I'm going to trade back and I'm going to go get this blood orange again. And I'm going to add some blood orange in around this sun design. So I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to transition back to my blood orange. So at this point in our class, you're going to be looking at yours to say, am I happy with the detail I have? Do I want to add anything else? Figure out where you might have white space, where you may want to fill in a little bit more design. So I'm going to take my clean brush and I'm going to grab some of this blood orange color and I'm going to do a secondary design here. So I might just do like a little bit of a wave out. So on either side of that orange line, I'm kind of doing like a line to the left and a line to the right. That's the idea that I have. And I'm going to create a pattern consistently all the way around. So I'm going to skip over to the next quadrant and I'm going to do a line coming to the left and a line coming to the right. And if you need to mix a little bit of water with your blood orange, whatever your paint is, that will really help thin it out. I like spinning my brush. For these classes, I always use really basic paints to make it approachable and understanding that you don't need fancy paints to paint. You can paint using really basic stuff. And you can also use really basic paints to make custom really pretty colors like this. All right, and I'm going to rotate this line and line. Rotate this. So for me, I was filling in the detail around the sun just a little bit. I'm going to rotate this. Again, sometimes people like painting on an easel. Sometimes you like painting flat with your canvas on your table. Anything goes. And I've completed that design all the way around. So as the artist, one of the things I would suggest is anywhere you want to do second coats to make something a little bit more strong, I encourage you to come in and do a second coat. Really important. If you need to make any of your lines a little bit more clear or sharp, this is a great point of a class to come in and make your lines nice and clear, your edges nice and clean. So for me, I have the orange in my hand. I'm going to do a little touch up on some of these orange figured lines, right? And you can think about, is there anything else I want to add to my sun design? Now, the lines and the details over here are very condensed. There's very little white space over here. There's some. So you can look and see over here. Are there any more lines that I might want to add more sun rays? Now, one really easy way to do that is you can add more thin lines, but use a smaller brush. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I have the oranges ready to go. I have a little bit of the blood orange and I have a little bit of the lighter orange. I'm going to grab one of my smaller brushes. And this is a really cool brush. It's a very, I call it like a needlepoint brush. It probably has a very formal art term, but I don't know what it is. And I'm going to use, let's see, I'm going to pick a color. Let's go with the lighter orange. So I'm going to put a little bit of water on this really thin brush. I'm going to put some of this paint on it. And I'm going to add some thin lines to fill in some of the white space. So as an example right here, I have a lot of white space in between these colors. And I'm going to come in and just add some thin wavy lines. Again, I can dip my brush in a little bit of water. And I like to maintain that white padding so it's not up next touching to another color. And if I want to add some more of these, I can. This is kind of like a way to fill in, softly fill in some of the detail. So I'm just going to have fun with this. I'm going to add a few of these here because I can. It's not going to look out of place. And can you guess why? It's because it's the same color and a very similar form to what we've used in other areas. So it's going to feel like it's been here all along. See those skinny little lines? Perfect. I could use this as my filler in any large white areas to really bring it all together. So I'll do that just due to our time today. I started this class saying that we can make a boho sunshine in 90 minutes. And look at that. We are going to do that today. I'm going to use this. I'm going to maintain white spacing, and I'm just going to use this beautiful color. Again, I can get a little bit more water, mix that water with my paint pigment on my plate, and use this thin line as my boho sunshine filler in white spaces. And look at that down there. It really blends and it connects that whole area together like it's always been there. So I'm going to rotate my canvas. It looks like it can do a little bit of a filler line here. And I'm going to rotate my canvas and I'm going to work my way around and use this as my way of kind of finishing off some of this detail. You are going to have a different opinion about yours. All of our artwork is so different. So go at your own pace. I am going to turn this just a little bit. I have a white area here. I'm going to add in a little bit of this detail. I do have water mixed with my acrylic paint on my plate. All right. And I'm going to slowly wiggle my way down. And you can do as much or as little of this filler work as you wish. All right. I'm going to use a little bit more water. I want to make sure I have a nice smooth consistency for this paint. Makes it really easy for me to glide from one area to another. And I'm using this to fill in any white spaces that just need a little bit of extra love. I'm doing it based on the visual needs, not based on the quadrant needs. So keep that in mind. Because it's really a subtle detail in the distance. I'm going to put it up by the top a little bit. But this is really therapeutic because I'm not overly thinking about this. I'm just being in the moment with doing kind of what I need to do to finish out some of these basic designs. Let's see here. I might do a little bit of that down here. You don't need to overly fill a space either. So if you may not think there's not enough room, don't worry about it. Just do it where you feel like it's needed. And if anyone, again, has questions about supplies or any finishing touches, I'm here for you. So be sure to use the comments below with any questions. I'm happy to answer those for you. And again, I want to thank you for being here. I hope you're enjoying yourself. So glad you've joined us. And I'm doing just a little bit of this design in between these white areas, and I'm just working my way around. And our goal was to complete this within 90 minutes. Everybody has a different amount of time. And again, you can easily spend more time. There's so many more details we could be doing to this. If anybody's interested in doing a part 2 with some more black ink, detailed sketching doodles in these designs as an evolution, I would be so fun to do a part 2 if anybody's interested in that. So let me know if you're interested in that part 2. And we could evolve this basic design, or where we have it today, to another level. But again, I'm just tucking a little bit of extra golden sun rays in between any really wide white space that needs just a little bit of something. And it works because we've already used this color on our painting. Just getting a little bit more paint. You might put a little bit more water and mix that around. It also stretches your paint pigment if you add a little bit of water to it, just in case you want it to run out. A little bit in here. Again, I'm maintaining that white space and padding between each of these designs so it stays nice and bright. Nice and smooth. The water allows my brush to glide nice and softly. All right. And I'll set it upright for you. Beautiful. So much going on, but it's very simple and it's on its own forms here. The only other touch that I'll add as some of our final detail work is if you wanted to add any white dotting for a little bit of extra detail work to some of your areas, you can. Now this is totally optional. You don't have to do this. I'm going to show you what it looks like if you wanted to try it. I have a small brush of choice. I'm going to add a little water. My white paint is really thick, so I'm just going to add a little bit of water to it. If you wanted to add any white dotting, do it consistently. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. This brush may not work, but we'll try it. But I could add a little bit of white dotting, like our little lines here. 1, 2, 3. This is just a little bit of detail work. I just did a little bit of like a 1, 2, 3 line on the inside of those petals. So guess what? I did it on some of those petals. I'm going to do it to all of these now. But I have a really thin brush. You can do little lines, but go slow. If you need to water down your acrylic paints, do that. Use the tip of your brush. Make sure you have a little bit of paint management. You know how much paint is on your brush, so it doesn't get too goopy. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So this is what I'm talking about that I mentioned at the beginning of the class and also throughout the middle, is that you do all these base designs and then you can add more detail work as you go through. So always just take your time. If you want to be done and come back to this, that's fine. I understand what it's like to just take a break and pause. If you want to keep playing with this, keep playing with it. Absolutely. But I'm doing a 1, 2, 3 on these leaves. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Go back and get a little bit more paint, a little bit more water on my brush. 1, 2, 3. The water can also reduce the pigment. So like I have some really just little designs throughout. If I wanted to add any little white dots, I could just do a couple little white dots on the edges of these blue areas. I'm not going to do too much. I'm being fairly dainty with this. I just did blue dots here on the edges. And I think I'm going to stop after that. I like that it's fairly simple. There's a lot of complexity with regards to the colors and the movement, but I don't want to do too much detail work. I like that it's simple. I like the white ties in. I'm just going to rotate my way around. If anyone has to jump off, I understand. I want to thank you so much for being here. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed yourself today. I'm going to hang out for a bit and finish this up, but if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to do so. It would be a pleasure to see you again. If you have any questions about supplies or what to expect, I have a Patreon community where you can follow along, meet other folks that enjoy creating like yourself, and we have an open chat where we love to share ideas and share our artwork with one another. Love for you to join that. There is a link to that down below. I will include that in the final video description if it's not there already. But I just want you to know, for all of my classes, always show up being your authentic self. Don't be nervous. I'm here to kind of kick those nerves right out of the experience for you. Art is something that is really rewarding if you allow yourself to settle down, kind of eliminate your expectations, allow yourself to relax and not be so hard on yourself. The process of creativity is really energizing if you allow it to be. And if that's something that you're not familiar with, I encourage you to attend another one of my classes, and you'll start to get a feeling for what that sense is. And it happens naturally, and it's really quite amazing once you get there. And it doesn't take that long. Many people in my classes, it takes just 10 or 15 minutes just to settle in, and they can kind of let go and just be in the moment painting. And that's exactly why we're here, is for you to recharge in all those ways that it means the most to you. So I'm just working my way around, adding this really simple, beautiful detail. These look like whale's tails, which is so funny. Or little turnips, little flowers, or little flower pots. It's so funny how art can kind of transform. And you may see visuals, objects may start to appear in your painting. That's okay. You could have come into this artwork knowing that you wanted to build in flowers into your sunrise, or you wanted to build in rainbows, or whatever, maybe butterflies. You could do that with these classes. I encourage you to break the rules. I encourage you to do things different than what I do. It's really quite, it feels so good if you can get there and play with that. And I'm just finishing up my last blue area. But pause and reflect on your work. In these classes, I talk a lot about mindfulness. It's just about reflecting on your work as you go. I'm going to clean off my brush here. One of the final steps that I'll do after my painting is dry is I have lots of pencil marks. Guess what? That's okay. You can let the artwork dry, go in with a pencil, and erase after. Then, if you happen to see any pencil marks coming through, you can go in and do a second coat. Even right now, if you wanted to, and you see pencil marks coming through in an area, sometimes we do like a soft erase before we do full sketching. But for me, I didn't do that. And I can just do a second coat of orange paint over this to hide the pencil mark there. Same thing with here. I could do another second coat of paint over this area to cover the pencil mark. Easy peasy. And while you have paint on your plate, I encourage you to do those second coats so you don't have to remix this color. You may need more paint anyways, and that's very common. So don't worry if you need to remix. But look around your painting and say, do I need to add any second coats while I have paint on my plate? It's still wet, it's not dried up, and I need to cover any of those pencil marks. And have patience with that. But most importantly, I want to thank you so much for being here. My name is Megan, and I'm based in my studio in Vermont. I primarily lead team building virtual paint classes. So if you are on a team and you want to do something really fun with your team that is not your normal team get together, I promise you'll have a really good time. I love to break the ice. I love to keep things really fun. So be sure to reach out if anybody wants to partner. But be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me for our next video. But thanks again for being here, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.